The Redmi Note 14 Pro lineup feels a little bit tricky. We have got the Note 14 Pro 4G, the 14 Pro 5G and also the 14 Pro Plus 5G. On paper, the 4G and the 5G models might look almost identical, but Xiaomi has made some key changes. Some are good and some are questionable. The 4G version is supposed to be the most budget-friendly of the three, but surprisingly, it's not as cheap as you would expect. The 8GB over 256GB model goes for around 390,000 naira in Nigeria, while the 12GB over 512GB goes for 460,000 naira. So for just 50,000 naira to 100,000 naira more, you could grab the Note 14 Pro 5G, which offers better performance, improved video recording and some extra features. So is the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G worth your money, or should you stretch your budget for the 5G version, or even consider alternatives like the Poco X7 or the Samsung Galaxy A55? To help you decide, we'll break everything down from design and display to performance, camera and battery life. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button because this is Mr. Roy and you're watching All Around Review. So let's get started, guys. If you missed our unboxing and first impression video on the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G, check out the link in the video description. That video covers everything in the box and my initial thoughts on this phone. Now let's talk about the design and build quality. Xiaomi kept things simple with this one, unlike the 5G model, which offers a more premium glass or vegan leather finish. The 4G version settles for plastic back and frame. That said, Xiaomi did a good job with the silky matte finish, which helps to reduce fingerprints and smudges. It comes in midnight black, purple and ocean blue. One of the standard improvements this year is the IP64 rating, a solid upgrade from last year's IP54 on the Redmi Note 13 4G. While this is not rugged as the IP68 rating on the 5G model, it can still handle dust and splashes without a problem. The front is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which offers better scratches and drop resistance. Even though the plastic frame isn't the most premium as you would expect, Xiaomi gave it a brushed metal look to add a bit of style. The power and volume buttons sit on the right side, and while they are slim, they offer decent tactile feedback. At the top, there is an IR blaster to control TVs and other devices, along with stereo speakers and a 3.5mm headphone jack, which the 5G model doesn't have. Despite its plastic build, the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G feels sturdy and lightweight at just 180 grams, making it comfortable to hold for a longer period of time. Xiaomi rarely disappoints in the display department, and that trend continues here, though with a few compromises. The 6.67-inch OLED panel offers a 120Hz refresh rate and a full HD Plus resolution of 1080 and 2400 pixels, delivering sharp visuals at 395 ppi. Now here's where things get interesting. With a peak brightness of 1800 nits, this display is actually brighter than the 5G model, which maxes out at 1150 nits. That means outdoor visibility is excellent even under direct sunlight, but there is a trade-off. Unlike the 5G variant, this model doesn't support HDR10 or Dolby Vision, so HDR content on Netflix or YouTube won't look as vibrant. The 120Hz refresh rate is great for smooth scrolling, but there is no adaptive refresh rate, meaning it only switches between 60 and 120Hz. If Xiaomi had included LTPO technology, it could have saved some battery juice. Still, the OLED panel delivers deep black and punchy colors and fluid animations, making it a great display for its price. The Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G packs a triple camera setup featuring a 200MP main camera with optical image stabilization (OIS), an 8MP ultra-wide camera with a 120-degree field of view, and lastly a 2MP macro camera. And for selfies, a 32MP front camera, which is actually better than the 20MP sensor on the 5G model. But how do this camera perform in real world use? Let's break it down. The 200MP main sensor uses pixel binding to capture 12.5MP photos by default. Images are detailed and look natural, but contrast and dynamic range could be better, especially in harsh lighting. Portrait mode does a decent job with background blur, but it sometimes struggles with hair strands and fine details. If you prefer higher resolution in short, there's a full 200MP mode, though the difference isn't as huge as you might expect. Now let's talk about ultra-wide and macro cameras. The 8MP ultra-wide camera is average at best. In bright condition, details are okay, but corners tends to be softer and noise levels are higher than on the main camera. As for the 2MP macro camera, let's be real, it's just there for the spec sheet. You'll get soft details, high noise and fixed focus, making it difficult to capture anything usable. And if you're talking about low light and night mode, the main sensor handles night shots very well, thanks to Xiaomi's automatic night mode processing. It retains good details, vibrant colors and balanced highlights, preventing street light from blowing out. And finally, the selfie camera. The 32MP front camera captures natural looking selfies with decent details, though facial features can sometimes appear soft when zooming in. And lastly, video recording. Here's the most disappointing part. The Helio G100 Ultra chipset limits video recording to 1080p at 30 or 60 frames per second, meaning there is no 4K recording at all. In good lighting condition, videos look decent, but stabilization is just average. At night, the footage turns soft and grainy. A small plus is that electronic image stabilization (EIS) helps to reduce shakiness, but if you are moving while recording, don't expect miracle. Okay, now let's talk about the audio and speakers. The Redmi Note 14 4G comes with stereo speakers, which is always a great feature for mid-range device. Unlike some phones that uses the hybrid setup with the earpiece acting as the second speaker, this one has two dedicated speakers, providing a more balanced sound. Though bass is minimal, if you are expecting deep, rich sound, you might be a little disappointed. Xiaomi has enabled the Dolby Atmos by default, which enhances the audio experience slightly. Turning it off doesn't make a drastic difference, but it does slightly change the sound profile by making it a bit richer but less balanced. In terms of loudness, the speakers perform very well. They are not the loudest in the segment, but they are good enough for media consumption without external speakers or headphones. For those who still prefer wired audio, the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G retains the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is something the 5G model is missing. The Note 14 Pro 4G is powered by the MediaTek Helio G100 Ultra, a chipset that might sound new but in reality is just a slightly improved version of the Helio G99 from previous generation. This 6nm chip features an octa-core CPU. It uses the Mali G57 MC2 GPU, which is not the most powerful, but it gets the job done for everyday tasks. Apps open fairly quickly and you won't even experience much lag when switching between multiple apps. When it comes to gaming, things aren't as impressive. Casual games like Subway Surfers, Call of Duty Mobile on medium settings and PUBG run smoothly, but more demanding games like Fortnite will struggle with frame drops, even on lower settings. One strong point of this chipset is thermal management, since it doesn't generate too much heat. The 14 Pro 4G stays cool even after extended gaming session. Out of the box, the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G runs on HyperOS 1.0 based on Android 14. Xiaomi has confirmed that the phone will receive 3 years of major Android updates and 4 years of security patches, which means that it will stay updated until Android 17. HyperOS is essentially an optimized version of the MIUI. If you have used Xiaomi or Poco phone before, the experience will feel familiar. The interface is clean and fluid, but Xiaomi still includes a fair amount of pre-installed apps, bloatwares. Fortunately, most of these apps can be uninstalled if you don't need them. One new feature with the HyperOS is better memory optimization, allowing apps to stay longer in RAM without reloading. Xiaomi has also improved animation, making the overall experience feel smoother compared to older MIUI versions. While the UI is feature-rich, some users might find it a bit bloated, especially with Xiaomi's own app store and recommendations that sometimes shows ads. For security, the Note 14 Pro 4G includes an under-display optical fingerprint sensor, which is fast and reliable. The placement is convenient and unlocking the phone takes just a fraction of a second. If you prefer face unlock, the phone offers that too. Since it's a software-based implementation, using the front camera is not as secure as hardware-based 3D face recognition system. It's fine for convenience, but if security is your priority, the fingerprint sensor is the better option here. The phone also comes with Xiaomi's built-in security suite, which includes app locking, secure folder option, and anti-theft features. Additionally, Google Play Protect is enabled by default, scanning apps for any potential threats. Xiaomi has increased the battery size to 5500 mAh, which is an improvement from last year's model. In real-world usage, the phone delivers solid battery life, easily lasting a full day of heavy usage. Charging speed is 45 watts, and while that sounds decent, it's actually a downgrade from last year's 67 watts. A full charge takes about 1 hour 15 minutes, while 30 minutes gets you to around 42%. So after everything we have covered, is the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G worth your money? Alright, listen to this. Buy if you want a stylish design with an IP64 rating. Buy this if you need a great battery life with fast charging of up to 67 watts. Buy this phone if you prefer a 200MP main camera with OIS for decent photography. Buy this if you don't mind missing out on 5G connectivity. And that's the pros. Now let's talk about the cons. Skip this if you want a better gaming smartphone. I think the 5G model is a much better option here. Skip this if you need 4K video recording. The Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 is in the 5G model allows this. Now you have to skip this if you hate bloatware and system ads. Xiaomi still hasn't removed them completely. Now let's talk about alternatives. If you are willing to spend a little more, I would strongly recommend checking this out. Go for the Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G. It has a better performance, 4K video and HDR10 Plus display. Another one is the Poco X7, Snapdragon 7S Gen 2, AMOLED and solid performance. Then the last one is Samsung Galaxy A55, better software support and no ads at all. At the end of the day, the Redmi Note 14 Pro 4G is a decent phone, but not the best value for money when the 5G model is just slightly more expensive. If you are still confused, let me know in the comments and what matters most to you. Performance, battery, camera or display. I'll help you pick the best option. And if you haven't seen my unboxing and first impression video, check it out using the link in the video description. This is Mr. Roy and you have been watching All Around Review. See you in the next one. Bye for now.